What the hell was that, Owen?
What, top of your head or that game? That's an angle.
The top of my head has more going on than this Arsenal team had today. I mean, it's my God. I was looking forward to this, and then I wasn't looking forward to this, and then I was again, and now I'm not. But I'm back from vacation. I'm back in your comforting arms, and we're gonna do this. Well, no, hold on. I don't want that. There we go. We're going to do this. We've got a couple people in the chamber already. This is our open mic show. So if you would like to have your say on the game, good, bad, indifferent, if you want to just crack jokes for 5 minutes, we probably appreciate that at this point. I mean, if you want to, take your shirt off, go right ahead. And we'll try to get through the next hour or so talking about Arsenal 1, Slavia Prague 1. The way to get involved in the show is just go to www.gooneropenmic.com. That's MIC. We'll put that in the chat for you. That'll take you directly into our waiting area, and we'll try to bring people on in the order that they come in. So, Owen, great job on the show on Saturday. I watched it from the car. I watched the Liverpool game and the post-game show as much as I could from the car driving home from
the
Florida.
Passenger seat, I hope.
The game in the passenger seat. Then I listened to the post-game show while driving because Steph was tired. So the only thing worse than not watching, or the only thing better than watching that game on a little phone with poor internet would have been not watching the game at all. But I think you did a great job of trying to get some opinions after the game, and so we'll try to do the same thing today with this absolute diabolical performance that we had. So we're going to start off tonight with someone, a debutante on the show, but he's someone I know very well, has been at the pub with a couple times in multiple cities, and that is Scott from Chicago. Welcome to the Open Mic Show.
Greetings, Jets.
From your lovely abode. Have you banged your head against that wooden floor yet? Because it looks, that would be kind of the comfortable thing to do after a game like this.
Yeah, I was actually at the Globe watching with a few people there and banged my head on the bar when Slavia scored that last goal. And I don't know, I'm a sportsman who handles losses pretty well. I just move on with my day, put it out of my head, whatever. I'm not handling this one well because this one actually finally shook my faith in Arteta. And I've been pretty solidly in Arteta's corner until this point and feel like most of our squad's deficiencies can trace their origins back to when Wenger even was still here and club mismanagement, and he was not working with a full deck. There is simply no excuse for what happened today. And I tweeted before the match. I said, this is one of those lineups where it makes me think, Mikel, you better know something I don't, because this doesn't make any sense to me. And the problem is, way too often, I've been right and he's been wrong, and I'm not like a football savant here.
So what was it?
I think this was another one.
What was it in particular that sort of made you rock your own opinion on Mikel Arteta? Was it because you touched on the lineup there, Scott? And I think one of the main things probably everybody would have noticed about the lineup was the absence of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. A lot of people had been calling for that absence. Did you have an issue with Pierre being left out, or was it down to who Mikel chose to replace Aubameyang?
A little of both. It's hard to ignore that Aubameyang has not been finishing his chances lately, and his form has just not been what we've come to expect. So if you're going to say we're going to sit him, maybe bring him on as a reserve, I can kind of understand that. But I look more at the entirety of the lineup, where you've got Willian out there. You've got 4 or 5 guys in your squad who you could reasonably expect to score a goal, and they're pretty much all sitting on your bench to start the match. And Arteta has been, to me, notoriously risk averse. And he seems to be in a position now where he values people who will follow his instructions to the millimeter over goals. And that's, I mean, anybody, yeah, I've seen some discussion on Twitter since the match where there's, well, Lacazette missed this chance and Saka missed this chance. This can't be a surprise to anybody. Look, God bless Bukayo Saka. He's been one of our best players this year. And for the first 60 minutes today, almost everything good we did went through him. But his end product in the box is still a work in progress. That can't be a surprise to anybody. Lacazette's been, by and large, a bottler for the better part of the last year and a half. These things can't be a surprise to Arteta. And it sort of bothers, it shakes me that, like, the well-tuned-in fan like us seems to be able to better project how Arsenal players will perform than Arteta can right now.
It is bizarre. I mean, there's always a school of thought of there's a reason that they're paid the money to do what they do, and we're just sitting here, in our houses with, with the game on the television. But I mean, it is. I remember in late stage Arsene Wenger, it was like, this is what you need to do. It's so clear, and they don't do it. Is it, Owen? Is that like just being stubborn and saying, I'm a professional football manager, I'm going to do things the way I'm going to do, I'm not going to crowdsource my strategy? Because it just seems like, supporters tend to just want the thing when things are bad, and so we feel entitled that we know this and the manager doesn't, and then we kind of forget that hey, we asked for Partey to be playing every game, and now all of a sudden he's performing poorly. It's recency bias, but it's just so obvious to me that certain things need to be done differently, and we would have a better result.
Well, I'll sorry to eat up some of your time, Scott, but I'll help go off on my own little rant here and give my sort of 2p's worth on this game and this performance, and I'll obviously throw over to you to find out your opinion on it too, because I much like you, at one stage before Christmas, my sort of confidence in Mikel Arteta was quite rocked, and tonight again could be the tipping point where my opinion on him as a manager changes. And I understand that the players themselves poorly executed part of the game plan, but there were certain themes throughout that match that I just didn't get. This is our biggest game of the season. Liverpool, I can sort of understand being slow out of the gates, but this is our biggest tie of the season, and it was lackluster. There was no coordination in the press. The defensive line was way too deep. Too much respect to, with all due respect to Slavia Prague. A lot worse opposition than we would be used to facing, and for me, I've heard arguments saying, well, Mikel Arteta can't go out and kick the ball. Nobody can tell them to take that defensive line higher up. He can tell them how to press, and if people aren't doing that job, he can make substitutions a lot earlier than he did. For example, if Gabriel at the back or Rob Holding at the back was the one orchestrating the back line to sit too deep, give them a few warnings. If they continue to do it, get them off. The same with Thomas Partey, Granit Xhaka, and the same with Lacazette and Saka and Willian up top. There was too many themes of negative approach that weren't corrected fast enough for me, and that's been a continuous theme with Mikel Arteta within recent weeks. So what did you make, Scott, of that sort of timid approach and the lack of willingness from Mikel Arteta to make a sort of drastic change early on in the game?
I mean, look, drastic changes early on. I mean, it's not often you see a manager go make like wholesale halftime substitutions. You don't normally see that.
But we've seen that. Sorry to interject there, but we did see that with Slavia Prague, who did do that, and it was beneficial to the way they were playing.
Well, when did they make their first subs? Wasn't it like about 60 minutes, I think, today?
Just after halftime.
Yeah. Oh, okay. They made a couple at halftime. Okay. I missed that. I think certainly any of us could have watched what was going on in the first half and seen, okay, we're getting the better of the run of play. Like, that was not the issue. But, when we had our end product guys sitting on the bench, to leave them sitting there until after 70 minutes, that was just really concerning. Because when you get to 60 minutes and you don't have a goal at home against Slavia Prague, like, you've done something wrong here, especially when you've got the talent you have sitting on the bench. I mean, look, There is not one player on Slavia Prague who could displace his counterpart on Arsenal in our lineup. And this can't be that much in doubt. And for the life of me, I don't know. I would love to have a conversation with Mikel Arteta on why don't you appear to rate Gabriel Martinelli? Because it seems like every time he comes on the pitch, he makes something happen. And Martinelli, ironically, he did sub off at halftime against Manchester United, and then he's scarcely been seen since. And I think that gets to what I was saying earlier, that Arteta he is so risk averse, and he is very concerned about what the other team will do to his team as opposed to what he can do to them. And in many ways, that's kind of the anti-Wenger. Wenger was
Wenger just didn't care what the other team was going to do.
Yeah, I'm going to throw my best players out there, and I'm going to trust their skills, and I'm going to trust their instincts. Arteta has so over-drilled his team and has them so afraid of making mistakes that even good players make mistakes. I mean, my God, Thomas Partey, even on his bad days this year, he's been a 6 out of 10 because there's still good things he does. He recovers the ball. He's our most press-resistant central midfielder. He gets that ball moving forward. Today was the first time where he just gave us an absolute disaster class. I mean, he got subbed off from Mohamed El-Neni just because he was bad.
Yeah, it's not about preserving his fitness anymore. It was that he was just such utter shit today.
Yeah, and how do we get to that point?
And the positive though is he did keep. I mean, his one shot he kept low. It wasn't on target.
Surprisingly, I forget I was listening to Canton's podcast just after the match, and Thomas Partey was actually given the second highest rating of any Arsenal player. So that just shows how bad everybody was, I think.
Yeah, Scott. Let's wrap up your segment by getting your rating on Thomas Partey out of 10, and we'll go around the circle because we want to try to get at least one player from, if not more, from everybody that came on today. So Partey's rating out of 10 for you today?
I mean, he was a 3. He did some decent things early, recovered some balls, but his passing was terrible throughout, and it got to the point where he couldn't hang on to the ball. And when you've reached the point where you have to be taken off for a Mohamed El-Neni just because you're that bad. Like, Mohamed El-Neni is a guy that most Arsenal fans don't think should even be in the squad.
Well, I think he's a good closer when we're up, but he shouldn't be the quality tactical replacement for Thomas Partey in a 0-0 game that's in the in the early middle part of the second half. I'm giving Partey a 2. I think 3 is kind for today. And, I have already pre-said that I'm giving him kind of a pass for this season. I mean, I've saying that about far too many people, including Arteta. But I'm giving him a pass given to the kind of the herky-jerky way that, he came here on deadline day, got hurt a couple times, rushed back, got hurt. The players around him, he's got to be more quality than this. And, I'm just counting on the summer for a major reset for some of these guys where they hopefully get some rest. Partey doesn't have a Euros to play in. So my hope is that he starts off next season and we get the Thomas Partey that we bought. And your rating on Thomas Partey?
I'm going to be slightly more positive, but not because I think he was great, but because I'm a Thomas Partey dick rider. I'm going to say 4, simply just because his what he does off the ball, the killing spaces and stuff, like I've said before. And I think part of the reason he misplaced quite a lot of passes was because he was taking a bit of the responsibility on his shoulders to progress the ball a bit more than others. But you have to put it into context, like you said, the injuries and stuff. So I'll go for a 4.
All right. Well, that's Scott. Appreciate you coming on. Hope you'll join us again, and I hope to raise a glass to freedom with you sometime in the pub pretty soon.
I caught that.
Yes, Scott's my Hamilton muse. I think I've probably watched it more than he has, but yeah, he gets my Hamilton references. But I literally do hope to raise a glass to freedom from COVID and to Arsenal soon. Anything you want to send out to the universe? Twitter handle? Anything that you're doing or?
Not really. Just all things must pass. This will get better for us.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks for joining us,
Take
Scott.
care, guys.
We'll see you soon.
You will.
And all right.
Legend.
Next joining us, you got to be careful because you're handing out the legend tag a lot lately, including on Saturday to this guy.
Well deserved, Mike.
He is a legend of making hilarious faces while backstage. I will say that I've been glancing down and seeing the reactions to some of these thoughts, and we got to bring you on. So, Colin, you're Owen's favorite guy.
Absolutely,
that's the way it came across after Saturday.
Speaking of which, Owen, what did I tell you about Leno on Saturday?
What did I tell you about Leno? I'm on your train, buddy. And again, I'll touch on why I love Colin so much is because he's the only man that makes my accent sound normal. So I love having him on. But Colin,
I actually, right when we first, Colin, I haven't told you this, but right when we first started podcasting almost 5 years ago, I would go online and watch YouTube shows and try to get a sense of what people were doing, good, bad, or indifferent. And I think at some point, 2016, you were doing YouTube shows, right, Colin?
Yeah, around about that time. I think it was the Man United game in 2015 when I started. So
yeah, I remember stumbling across your podcast and just think I could not believe someone actually speaks like that. That's not a criticism. I loved it.
Know, but you'll have to remind me what show it was because I did a lot around that.
Oh, I think it might have been Much Arsenal or something. I don't know. It was there. It was 150 broken friendships ago.
Oh, jeez, that was.
But on both of our parts, I think. But I don't know. It was hilarious though. And I enjoy the fact that we still are in contact. I think we've had our good days and our bad days on Twitter and such. But
people fall out, bro.
Your thoughts. Speaking of falling out, how are you feeling about Arsenal right now?
Mate, these players are shit. End discussion. Right? I'm not sitting here and saying, you know what, Arteta's substitutions or the timing of them do annoy me at times, but to put the blame on him would be wrong, and I'm going to tell you why. How many times have we seen these players drop clangers weekly? Too many for my liking. Leno should be saving that goal. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Lacazette, how many chances does this guy need to put the ball in the back of the net? You're in on goal. You're literally one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and you go at it lackadaisic like. Come on now.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. You have to be. I'm convinced these players are taking the wholesale piss now. I really am.
It's crazy because the frequency of just one-on-one errors in front of goal and back to our own goal is enormous, and it does kind of let off the manager in a sense to say, these mistakes are not things he's coached them to do, and they're not things that these players used to do when given these opportunities either. So,
but could you be, even just because I'm sort of trying to play devil's advocate slightly with your point about Colin, can you sort of name drop a few players in particular that you would consider this evening, not over the season, but this evening, responsible for the mistakes that led to those goals and the mistakes that sort of stopped us from gaining a decent result tonight?
Well, Leno for their goal, obviously. Bellerin for a start because he's not progressive enough.
I thought better. I didn't think that Bellerin could be called too much into question this evening. I don't think he was overly horrible.
Listen, Owen, I'm not saying he was overly terrible, but for me, he's not progressive enough as a fullback, and there's a reason.
He was anonymous tonight, which is probably a good thing to say tonight.
There's a reason why we're looking at the likes of Hakimi from Inter and Tyreek Lamptey. There's a reason, right? Because there's no one that can sit there and tell me that Arteta is fine with the full-back options that we've got on the right side. If Bellerin's not there, it's Cedric, who, quite frankly, was both fullbacks were average tonight. I wouldn't even say they were good; they were average. The centre backs, they're too deep for my liking. Gabriel and Holden as a pairing doesn't work for me.
Why wasn't that addressed during the game by Mikel Arteta to get them to move further up?
And I don't know, and that's why I'm talking about like the substitutions and why they are worrying for me at times. I've not lost faith in him, but it's that kind of thing that makes me think, well, maybe that's something that he needs to work on in his style of management and whatnot.
Would you say, Colin, overall, that this is something that I've been trying to sort of think of in my head, and I'll be completely honest, I haven't got a definitive answer for myself yet. Do you think that the majority of players under Mikel Arteta show regression over time? When you look at the likes of Emile Smith-Rowe when he broke in after the festive period, Thomas Partey, in a way, Gabriel at the back. There's been a lot of players have taken backward steps rather than forward steps. And do you think that that's a reoccurring theme with Mikel Arteta?
I don't think it is, because what I've learned in the last year is that while you may be a good player, it doesn't mean you can change everyone around you. The fact of the matter is, most of these players, apart from the likes of Thomas Partey, who wasn't great tonight, but still, we know he has that quality. Gabriel, let's not forget, he was one of our better defenders in the early stages of the season. That can't be forgotten. But
that's my point. He came in raw. He came in raw before Mikel Arteta could get his coaching, and that's just a thought process. It's not
the way I'm going with this on, is that even though you're a good player, there are times where you get dragged down by everybody else. It doesn't matter how good you are or not. If you've got shit around you, that's going to drag you down to think, you know what, these guys get away with it. I can do what I want, basically. Like case in point, Aubameyang. What's happened to him? He's been world class the last 2 years, and now that he's got his contract, he's just like, Lacazette, when we brought him in, I wouldn't say he was world class, but we all thought he was a good striker, and his numbers the numbers that he had at Lyon suggested that he was.
Yeah.
So he's been dragged down by the shit. And let's not forget, and I hate this as well, when people compare Arteta's first 50 games or so to Wenger and Emery's, that's a ridiculous argument straight away, right? Because the quality of squad that Wenger had and that Emery had is better than the squad. Make no mistake about it.
Well,
you can change the manager all you want. It doesn't make a shred of difference. The manager is just a figurehead. You could literally put anyone in there you want. It's not going to make a shitload of difference, bro.
But what about the comparison between Arteta and Arteta? Say that Arteta's first 6 months with Arsenal in comparison to this season. I think that within his first 6 months we were a lot more rigid. Now you could say that's down to the formation, but I don't think it's just that. I think it's the application that the players are showing. What is it that has made these players start to tail off?
Well, the first 6 months I can explain. The new manager bounce, right? As much as people want to dispute that, but that is a real thing. Like, when a new manager comes in, all of a sudden, you see the players go up a notch, right? And then when you see the players drop down to their original levels, that shouldn't be a surprise. In fact,
did we get much of a bounce though? I mean, yes, the FA Cup run, but I mean, in the league, I don't think we got a particularly good new manager bounce.
No, Mike. The bounce I'm talking about is the FA Cup run. Right. I'm not talking going above what they're capable of. These players, what they're performing at now, is what they're capable of. Make no mistake about it. I see a lot of people say, "Oh, our squad's better than Everton's. Oh, our squad's better than West Ham's." Bollocks. Absolute bollocks. You could name any West Ham player you like. You can name any Everton player you like. I'll tell you right now, I'd take Calvert-Lewin, I'd take Richarlison, I'd take Decore, I'd take Allen, I'd take any one of them Everton players, even Jordan Pickford, over the shit we've got now. I'd take any West Ham player you could name over the shit that we've got now. And I'm not talking the bench players. I'm talking the ones that make regular appearances, obviously, for the fucking idiots that were misconstrued that. But, nah, like, this squad is not good, Mike. This squad,
I know.
This squad is not good. That's what people seem to have confused.
The thing that I kept pointing to when, you know, in my attempts to try to maintain sanity is, you know, that, look, we have shown in performances like the first half against Wolves, like against Spurs for the majority of the game, like against Leicester City. We've shown that we can do these things. So my feelings are, why are the players not doing these all the other times? Why can they not get coached up or self-motivated enough to do this? But it is becoming quite clear that the games against Leicester and Wolves, those are one-offs. Those are not – that's not the level of the players, and they're not reaching that level. It's that somehow they're – and it's just more of a screamer for an absolute clear-out over the summer, and he's got to know that.
Mike, the thing is, right, I don't understand why people expect more out of this group of players. I really don't. Like, we know these players are shit. We've seen this over 2-3 seasons. But so why is anyone surprised anymore?
No, but I'll be honest, I'm on the opposite side of the fence. Whilst I do agree that they're maybe not up to the complete standard that we need to be where we want to be, I do think there should be more. People talk about keeping players. People loved Bird Leno. Me and you have our own opinions on it. Gabriel at the back, very good. People would all say that Cedric is a solid wing back. Thomas Partey, Granit Xhaka in the midfield are the best options that we have. Emile Smith-Rowe was on, Saka was on. You know, I think that there's players there to warrant better performances than what we are seeing at this moment in time. But that's not to say that none of the blame lies on them. Of course it does.
No. There are players in this squad that I like, right? For example, Saka. You notice tonight a lot of what we did good tonight came from him. He was finding space a lot of times, and more often than not, Lacazette was just non-existent, or he wasn't getting into the forward positions enough. If you watched him closely tonight, you've seen it. As soon as he won the ball back, which wasn't a lot, but when he won the ball, he wasn't busting a gut to get into those positions. And I know people are going to say, "Oh, that's easy for you to say," but no, it is easy for me to say, because once Lacazette won the ball and then he lost it again, he just gave up, and that's a symptom of this Arsenal side. You could put any manager you want in there. Like I said, they are just a figurehead. They are not going to change shit. Like, you could put Allegri there. You could put Pochettino there, even though he's at PSG now. You could put Rafa Benitez there. It's not going to make a difference. These players are shit. And until we have a wholesale clear out, nothing is going to change. It's that simple. And people need to wake up to this fact.
T-minus 2 months until that happens. We're going to move on to our next guest. Colin, name a player that you want to give a rating to, whether you want to recognize positive performance or negative performance. But
I'll do it because he's a good person. Bird Leno, Colin.
I love how you call him Bird Leno. There's an N in there, but anyway.
N is silent.
0. He should be saving
0 for Bird Leno for having one thing to for having one shot to save and not doing it.
Did it go in the back did it go in the back of the net? Yes.
No, it went to the top of the net. It literally did not go into the back of the net, Colin.
Did it go in the net then?
Yes. It did go into the net.
It? Yes. 0.
Okay. Colin, thanks for joining us. Anything you want to, your Twitter handle, anything else you want to put out there?
If you want to follow me, cool. That's too much. If you want to if you want to follow my YouTube channel, cool. Or follow my Twitch as well, sweet. I mean, it's Football Manager stuff over there, and I've got
and one word answer: Roman Reigns, Edge, or Daniel Bryan.
Bruh.
Oh, for fuck's sake,
bruh.
You're wearing a Bullet Club shirt. I should be able to ask you about the WrestleMania main event.
Bro, we're only going with the Tribal Chief on this one, bruv.
All right.
Tribal Chief.
That's because if you don't, he'll kick your ass. All right, Colin, talk to you later, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Next, joining us is Aston, not Villa, but Mac. The Mac is back, and we're going to bring on a third co-host because it would be very pompous and foolish of me not to. Joining us today is the one and only Kevin Campbell, fresh off of. This is also a gift for you, Aston, because I think Aston's a fan. Kev, welcome to the Gooners podcast open mic post-game show.
Open mic, magic mic. Should be open magic mic, right?
Open magic.
Hi, guys. How are you? How are you, Aston? You all right? How you
I'm doing great.
You okay?
I'm not too bad, buddy. I'm not too bad. Aston's got fanboy eyes. I'm loving it.
Yeah,
like you could have warned me. I could have done a little better than my car have I known Kevin was here.
We all could have dressed better. You're making us all look like shit, Kev.
I know, really. Well, it's Dicky.
Hey,
It's Dicky Bow Thursday.
It's Dicky Bow. Thank you, Magic. Thank you, Magic Mike. It's Dicky Bow Thursday for me. So,
tell us about Dicky Bow, first of all. What is Dicky Bow?
Well, the Dicky Bow. How it started was probably 5-6 years ago now. In the security business, one of the girls who used to, it's a bit of a sad story, one of the girls who used to work at the office, she saw me in the Dicky Bowl one day and she was like, oh my God, Kev, you look amazing in the Dicky Bowl. And I was saying, oh, Lisa, you know, that's so nice of you to say so. And she kept saying it all day. Kev, I just love seeing it. She kept popping her head in. Kev, I love seeing you in that Dicky Bowl. So
that
the next day,
that would be a lawsuit here in the U.S. if someone said that in the workplace.
Yeah,
but Mike, just listen to this. So the next day, we go in, and it's usually we have a dress down Friday. So we dress down Friday, speaking to her. Get to the end of the day, we said, right, Lisa, see you Monday. Got in on Monday. She had a brain hemorrhage on the Friday. Friday evening, she passed away. So that was the last.
Oh, man.
So that's why I wear it. Just because of that, I wear it on a Thursday.
Every Thursday,
I've done that for 6 years.
And every
Obviously,
Thursday,
I don't wear it. I don't wear it on the beach. I don't wear it in the bath or anything like that. But when I've got a function to do, or if anything. Sometimes we're going to work. I just put the Dicky Bow and just out of a little, because I'm thinking of her, you know.
Yeah, I never knew the story behind that. All I knew was that the most reliable thing of the week for me is every Wednesday night at about 10:30 or 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I see Kev, who's up at 4 o'clock in the morning, as per usual. You know, everyone have a wonderful Dicky Bow Thursday, and it's still Wednesday night for me at the time, and it just, you know, it gets me nice and calm for bed on Wednesday night. So anyway, Kev, we're gonna allow you to kind of share your thoughts anytime, but Aston, you've come on for the open mic.
Aston's got to say.
I want to ask you guys, because you guys know a ton of Arsenal fans, like absolutely an enormous amount more than me. So which one of us had sex with a witch? Because that's what happened. That's how I feel right now. I feel like no matter what happens, somehow we've done something cosmic to get the powers that be to hate us. Because that's what, when you have Lacazette clear on through, when you have Saka clear on through on goal, you expect these guys to finish, and yet we're here at halftime thinking, how did we not score? How is this game still 0-0? And how many times have we seen that? You know, and at some point, and Kev would understand the psychology of it a lot more, which is, why do we have players, whether it be in attack or defense, that just seem to lose concentration all the time? Because the system's there. The system seems to be working. We're generating chances. We're keeping more shots out. Why is it week in, week out, we cannot expect a consistent level from our players. What's happening?
Kev?
It's all here. It's all mental. It's all mental. Because let me tell you this. Some of the games this season, we have created chances and we haven't taken them, right? Now,
yeah.
Or if you take one or two of those chances and you in only a few of those games, you put another 6-7 points, you're up there challenging for top 4. This is how small the margins are in football. Now, the bottom line is this, and this is the truth of the matter. Aubameyang's goals made a massive difference to Arsenal for the last season. With his goal, it propels us up the league. And yeah, we haven't been great for the past 2 seasons, but even under Emery, we had a chance of qualifying for the Champions League. And last season, we finished 7th. How many goals? Aubameyang was just missed out on the Golden Boot. This season, there's probably 10, 12 goals more that we usually have. And when you don't get them goals, it makes a massive difference to your points tally. And that's why we're in 10th.
But Kev, maybe you could maybe you could chime in on something. I think it was Scott at the beginning of the show I was talking with, and I know that you're a sort of massive backer of Mikel Arteta and giving him time.
Here's the thing. I'm not a massive backer of Mikel Arteta. I'm a massive backer of the change.
Yeah.
The change is the important part.
It should never be about one person in specific. It should be about what we're seeing.
And I agree. It's just I think Kev might be a good sort of opposition for me to bounce some of the concerns I have off. And
Owen's our Sophie, by the way.
Yeah, but my concerns was well, that's down to personal opinion. But anyway, my concerns were the timid approach, the how deep our defensive line were, the lack of coordination in the press. But not only those, what I was concerned about was the lack of action to change that throughout the game from Mikel Arteta. What do you think that that's down to the players, or do you think that it's down to the manager to make it, to take action to change that?
Well, the manager did change it, didn't he? And we scored.
But it was very late. Like I thought coming in.
But here's the thing, you see, this is the problem. Sometimes people think if you change it earlier, it's going to change. There is no guarantee that's going to happen. We created enough chances to be out of sight. Do you agree with that?
Well, funny, do
you agree with that? What, yes or no? That's all I want is a yes or no, because you asked me to answer. So I just want a yes or no. Did we create enough chances to be out of sight? Because
not to be out of sight. I think they created equal amount of chances, and I think that was maybe overlooked. But I do think that we had some very clear cut chances. Yes.
No, it was 2.02 xG against their 0.78 xG.
Well, I can tell you here. Look, we had 11 shots in total with 2 on target, and they had 10 shots in total with 4 on target. So.
But like, for example, like what XG isn't going to cover, like that, it's off target, yeah, but you have to consider that Lacazette's chance 1-on-1 was technically off target. So you get a lot of those chances should have been buried. You're talking about off target chances from players that should be mentally able to make some of those chances happen. You know what I mean?
So I agree. So hold on. So let me just make this point. This is important now. You asked me the question. Here's what I see, because I covered the game for Sky Sports today, right?
Yeah.
This is always going to be, these games are always going to be tight. Blowing away teams in a quarterfinal of a Europa is not happening. So what you got to try and do, especially remember, it's two legs. So first leg is at home. You try and get your noses in front. So the opposition have to open up. We couldn't do that because, not that they were playing brilliant, but because we couldn't finish our dinner. So What happens? You get to a certain point. You give the players a chance to get to where they need to get to. It never happened. He made the changes. We get our noses in front. 1-0 at home is a good result.
Oh, it would have been fine to take that to Prague, although underwhelming to the eye, but effective.
Completely changes how we feel. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, Owen. So my point is this: we have seen it time and time and time again with this team. People say to me, do they work on it? Of course they work on it on the training ground. But when you cross that white line and when the pressure's on, we are not good at dealing with it. Because you know what? When they get a corner in the last minute and a corner comes in, I'm expecting one of my centre-halves to put his head on it. It's not as if it was a wicked corner that, and it had that much pace on it. Why didn't just go and edit? But we don't. Comes off Pepe. Pepe couldn't do nothing about that. He's trying to do, and then the centre half is their goal. That is our problem. It's the little things.
Even cut it out at source, like you're saying from the corner. But I believe there that somebody that was replacing Kieran Tierney, Cedric, had the option before that to clear the ball, and we made a calamity of that. But Aston, maybe that's even something you can touch on, because I think in terms of the fluidity going forward, I know that it was a defensive error that cost us, but at the end of the day, if we get a goal, another goal, or another couple of goals, then it would sort of seal the tie there. And then I think that we massively missed Kieran Tierney and Martin Odegaard in terms of control and attacking outlet. Would you agree with that?
Let's touch on this and then move on.
Look,
I think there's two. Oh,
sorry. Go on, Aston. I'll speak after you.
I was gonna say that what Kevin's touching on actually touches on what you're saying, as far as like players having the mental and the mental toughness to kind of carry out through a game. We lost Kieran Tierney and Odegaard, not just for their skills, but for their mental attributes of being leaders on the field. You're talking about one of the guys that's the captain of Norway, and one of the key places that we were missing was actually, honestly, no one's talking about it. I don't think Emile Smith-Rowe had a great game. I don't. And I think that in the middle of that pitch, when you saw Partey actually physically tired from the fact that he's been running up and down the pitch and he started losing the ball quite often, I think a lot of that's because we didn't have that other source of progression from Martin Odegaard in the middle to kind of hold the ball, progress the ball forward, and do those sorts of things. So Partey had to be a little riskier to compensate. And when we're talking about missing Kieran Tierney, well, besides the one Rob Holding header, how many deliveries did you see come from the left tonight? Exactly. So these are...
Look, Aston, William got to the byline a couple of times in the second half. A lot of people want to dispel William, but William hit the post from a free kick, which could have gone in. He goes down the byline and puts balls in the box, but we are so static in the middle.
Yes,
we're so static.
And that's where I was going with the Odegaard thing, because what Odegaard's superpower is being able to unlock defenses. Like sometimes, even though we're static, he's able to create a ball that kind of gets us on the front foot, gets us moving. Right now, how we had I literally saw a point in that game when I believe Cedric, we clear the ball, we're going from back to front on a counter attack, and Cedric gets the ball to Lacazette, who holds it up brilliantly, but he's looking around and there's no one to play it to. So it's like, what do you do? And these are the times when I'm just like, it's just, I don't know. I don't know with these players, because it seems like from week to week, sometimes they're able to have the positional awareness, but sometimes they just aren't.
And then Aston, my point is, Owen, just to finish off, you get to kind of 80 minutes, and he makes a triple substitution. Remember, now they're tired. And you bring on the Jets. Martinelli's a Jet. You bring on Aubameyang, and you bring on Pepe. El Neni played forward more in this game than I've seen him play forward for a long time. You understand what I mean? So it was get the ball forward. I saw Aubameyang for the goal, put his body in, win the ball back, and play a through ball for Pepe to outpace the defender and a neat finish.
Bright spot of the game. Bright spot of the game. Question for you, Kev. Question for you. Do you have a few more minutes? Because we want to get. There's a couple other open micers that are wanting to get on. I'm sure they would rather be on with you than after you. If you had a couple minutes to stick around, Aston, it's been good to see you again, mate.
Aston, lovely meeting you.
Great.
Take care. Hang out. I may be seeing you down in Orlando a little bit more than well, I've never seen you down in Orlando, but I may be down in Florida more often coming up soon. So
let me know, because it's almost beach time weather and sun's out, guns out, baby.
That's and everyone is just lining up to see my guns. So take care, Aston. We'll see you next time.
Magic Mike.
Magic Mike needs to have 4 shirts on at all times. All right. See you later, Aston. All right. Next on with us is someone who's been waiting since the very beginning of the show, and appreciate your patience. Carlos, calling in from San Diego. I want to ask you, and let me know if you have a specific thing that you want to talk about, but missed chances in this game. To me, I mean, Saka's missed chance in the first half, not the easiest of finishes, especially from the angle that he was at, but where was the trailer? And I want to ask you this, but obviously anytime you're talking about something having to do with a striker or just any player's experience, we'll go to Kev on it as well. But I just was looking down the middle run because if Saka has an option besides shooting, it could be a tap in rather than a curl shot. So am I being unrealistic, Carlos, or were you looking for the cross as well?
No, you're not completely unrealistic, but Saka needs to put that away. That's on his left. Yeah, that's at his angle. He needs to put it away. That's simple. At that level, with the one-on-one on the keeper on your strong leg, you put that away. You missed it, but I will agree with you. How many times did Saka look into the box and saw no one and hesitated?
And I think
a lot of goals are missed because nobody's in there.
Kev, does that affect your shot? Like if you're when you're looking for somebody, you're like, okay, well, shoot, there's no one there. I got to take it myself. And then you've got a defender closing in on you. I mean, will that make you miscalibrate the shot and put it wide like that? I mean, is it?
Yeah, well, remember, Saka's a winger. He's not a striker. So he can finish, but he's not got the predatory instincts. We've seen him miss chances previously. We've seen him miss a great chance at Burnley. We've seen him miss quite a few chances from that position where he's on his strong foot and he doesn't hit the target. If he hits the target, he scores tonight. But maybe he's trying to be too precise. Trying to place it.
It's that old thing, innit, Kev, of he almost, a lot of them actually, and Jesus, you're way more qualified than me to speak of this here, but there's an old saying.
I don't think we need to keep saying that. I think it's pretty self-evident.
Yeah, no, but I just want to let everybody know, because I have a reputation for being very prolific in front of goal myself, so I want everyone to know.
You mean profligate. It's a very similar word, but it's not the same.
No, but it's the old saying of he had too much time on the ball, and there's nothing worse than when a team is in a sort of downward trend or in a bad run of form, and you get too much time on the ball and you get time to think. You almost want to be hitting that first time with no time,
Yeah. And you know what else, Owen? Sorry to cut across you, but Mike said, when Saka's in those positions, he would like somebody square who could get a tap in. Our problem is sometimes it's Lacazette who plays him in. So Lacazette's the one striker.
Yeah.
So if Lacazette's the one playing him in, the only other person who was trying to bust the gut to get in
Smith Rowe.
was Smith Rowe. And
that's who I would have loved to. Smith Rowe or Odegaard, if he were playing, are the people that I would have expected to just appear out of the left side of my television screen into the picture.
Well, Odegaard would have been the one playing it to Saka, and Lacazette would have been the one in the middle. Hence, West Ham second half, where he plays it to Pepe, cross comes in, Lacazette's there to head it in. Our problem is Lacazette's the one who's have to do the foraging, get the ball, and play Saka in.
He's doing that well. He's the pivot right now. The team, if you look at the focal point, it's Lacazette opening up to the sides. And if you take him out, people complain, "Oh, Lacazette's not scoring in front." Who's that guy now? Like, you need Lacazette there, but you also need Aubameyang coming in from that side, and you put him on the bench. He's the guy supposed to be making those runs, and that's what I wanted to talk about. He doesn't make those runs anymore because when he has, they don't give him that ball. Last Saturday, he had an open run on the left, and Partey totally missed the pass. And you could see the frustration of Aubameyang, and I keep seeing that face of, like, I keep making these runs, and you keep missing me, or you're not seeing me. And I think that's the biggest thing that's affecting Aubameyang. His goal scoring comes on those runs. Lacazette doesn't score those kinds of goals. That's Aubameyang.
But I actually think that another theme throughout this season and much of last season as well was that we bombard the wings too much and we become too predictable. And it was funny because it was almost towards the end of the game. I think it was when Smith Rowe, Pepe and Aubameyang combined. I think Aubameyang, that was one of his near misses. But we don't fizz the ball. There's very little 1-2 touch football, and especially through the middle. You know this, Kev, as well, is that strikers thrive off those small, intricate pieces of play where the ball just gets nicked, a small through ball. But everything I see from us is so telegraphed. It's so easy for defenders to read. And it's fine playing all those crosses into the box when you've got someone like Andy Carroll or Olivier Giroud on the end of them. But we don't have that profile of striker. And why we neglect playing through the middle so much when we have players like Emile Smith-Rowe or Martin Odegaard. In fairness, Odegaard has improved that. But we're just so one-dimensional at times, and it gets so frustrating to watch when the solution is so obvious.
Well, look, for me, the youngsters we've relied on Saka, we've relied on Smith Rowe. They bring a different impetus to the team. They play 1- and 2-touch football. They're our shining lights right now. Odegaard's come in and dovetail perfectly with these guys. But our problem is Odegaard's not fit. Tierney's not fit. Remember, Saka and Smith Rowe, they've just come back from injury. So, we want them to get us over the line when really the likes of Aubameyang, Lacazette, these are the guys who should be pushing us over the line. But they haven't really turned up. So, this is where we are as a club right now, unfortunately. But I still believe we will go through this tie. I do believe that.
It just looks like they don't have confidence, and like you mentioned earlier, and confidence comes from scoring the goals, from getting the points, but also comes from the manager's system and players knowing what they're supposed to be doing. And right now, you don't see people making runs, creating spaces, doing the off-the-ball movement that they should be doing. There's a lot of ball watching, and there's a lot of second guessing where you see somebody make a terrible pass like William did. What was the 66th minute? We just kicked it out of bounds from the other side. Like, this is all when you're not comfortable in the system that you're at.
But just a month ago, we were doing all those things. Like it's
Mike.
It's
not even a month ago, Mike. Not even a month ago.
Right before the break.
Yeah, right before the break, we were doing it. Well, look at that performance against Spurs, etc. Again, players know what to do. Come on, Carlos. Players know what to do. Players know what to do. Second half, end of the first half, and then second half against West Ham. Players know what to do. You can't tell me they don't know what to do. They know what to do. Can they do it consistently? No. Unfortunately, they can't.
And that's what does my head in, because I see these performances out of this team and know that they're capable of it, and I just don't understand why they do that against Spurs, and then literally 4 days later come out and look like they have never been taught how to play football before. I don't get it. Carlos, one more piece, and then we're going to move on to Darren, who's been patiently waiting, and I've been looking forward to having him on for us for a while. Martinelli, are you? What are your thoughts on Martinelli? Because he seems to, the whole topic seems to be a one that divides opinion a lot about whether it's injury related, whether it's just completely Arteta being stubborn, or whether we need to just stop talking about him so much. But let's talk about him. So what? He's working his way into becoming something of a super sub at this point, or at least an attempted plan B, I guess. That could mean more time, possibly a start in the Premier League coming up soon. But are we waiting too long to bring him in to try to change games?
I think there is an injury concern with him, right? He's been injured numerous times. So how many minutes you give him? You give him 15 minutes. I think he has exceptional talent. He could be great. But I also see he's one of those players that try to do too much sometimes. Well, he's like concentrating on a game and he's running back and forth like where are you going? Like, stick to what your lane, stick to what you're supposed to be doing. And a lot of players that try to overdo it are the ones that get injured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to see him on the ground crying again this year. I mean, I felt awful for him both times, and I thought he was out for another 18 months, but seemingly he's not. Kev, I know you guys have been over the Martinelli thing on the Highbury squad, and it's fantastic.
I'll go over it again. Don't worry. I'll go over it again.
I know you're not. When it comes to just like guys with a nose for goal and aggressiveness, you know a bit about that, and so tell anyone that might be listening to us that hasn't heard you over on the squad, where does Martinelli fit into this squad this season, and then where do you think he fits in next season?
Yeah, I do think Martinelli is a very talented young man. He is the future. He's going to be a top player in the future. But Martinelli, let's have it right. Martinelli hasn't started 5 games for Arsenal back to back. Let alone we're going to put the pressure of him carrying the goal scoring can on his shoulders ahead of the captain Aubameyang. He came on before Aubameyang today, which was good. I think he needs to learn. He needs to learn a bit more, because you can get away with it when you're not at the cutting edge, but you can't get away with the inexperience. Yeah, he's enthusiastic, but you need more than that. You do need more than that to carry Arsenal Football Club. And we've relied on Saka, we've relied on Smith Rowe, and you could see at times they've just come back from injury because they're knackered. The guys are knackered. If I'm honest, they're tired. Saka, I think earlier on in the season, Saka scores, but mentally, I just think he's drained.
Wouldn't that be more of an impetus to start giving Martinelli more minutes than 10 or 15 minutes in a game, possibly some starts? I mean, I just can't see how in the Premier League there's 8 games left in the Premier League season, and we're almost completely locked into like 7th to 10th place.
We might see him start now.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, but here's the issue. Here is the issue. For him to, if he starts and he gets injured, okay, I know what the fan base are like. They're going to say, well, why not protect him? Why not? He's had injury problems. Why not protect him? I think Martinelli is a good impact sub right now.
I agree.
He's not the one to carry the team because he hasn't played long enough to be the striker. Just like Balogun, people have been telling me about Balogun should be given to. Balogun hasn't started 2 games in the Premier League, let alone carry the burden of being a striker for Arsenal. So come on, guys.
You don't want to hear my starting lineup for Sheffield United on Sunday. It's probably Balogun, Aziz, Lopez.
No, but that's fine, Mike.
Martinelli.
Mike. You could pick who you want because you're magic. But the Balagans of this world, Magic, are not going to get a chance because they're not going to give him the game time when he hasn't committed to the football club, and the club are right on that.
Yeah,
well, and because we haven't seen him yet, he's the best player that's ever played for us. I mean, I remember seeing your name on the in the youth the youth team update in the game programs in '88 and '89 when I was at Highbury and thinking this guy's scoring so much for the youth team. Why don't they bring him through? And, they made a mistake. They should have brought you through earlier. We could have we could have won 3 straight leagues instead of just 2.
Magic. This is the problem.
I'm just saying things that you don't agree with, just so you keep calling me Magic.
No. But George Graham, and this is the crazy thing. George Graham said, "You're training with us all the time. I know what you can do, but what we want to do, we want you to go out and earn the mentality." So he sent me to the old 4th division. Because it's all very well Balogun scoring goals for the under-23s.
Was that the Leyton Orient stint?
Yeah, that was Leyton Orient. It's all very well scoring goals in the under-23s and people are going crazy. We've said it so many times, Magic. But Eddie Nketiah has been away for 6 months on loan. He hardly played at Leeds. Yeah. How is he supposed to carry the Arsenal burden if he hasn't learned his trade?
Is that what Martinelli needs? Do you think he maybe needs to go into the Championship for a year?
Listen, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Because we've seen the likes of Phil Foden at Manchester City not go on loan, slowly but surely keep training and keep learning the game. Opportunity open up, David Silva leaves, and now Phil Foden is getting a lot more minutes and he's looking the part. But that's taken 2 or 3 years of him just being in around the squad, minutes here, now and again, slowly building him up.
Seems like the patience is just never there anymore for that.
But see, here's my only concern with it, and a lot of people say that is the right way to do it, but Phil Foden bleeds sky blue. He's a Man City boy through and through, and I'm not sure that Gabriel Martinelli will have that level of patience to do that 2 or 3 years with limited game time.
No, it may not be 2 or 3 years, Owen, but my point is this. To just push him in there and say, right, you're the one who's going to do it, I think that's too much for him right now. That's just my personal opinion.
No, I agree.
People might not agree with me, but I think Martinelli's years start from next season.
I hope so.
When there's a better supporting cast to help him.
I've said that about Martinelli. I've said that about Partey. I've said that. Next season, guys. It's going to be next season. Carlos, we're going to move on to our next guest, our next open mic guest. Anything that you want to get out there? Any promotion, Twitter handle?
I'm not any of that stuff, but thank you so much for having me, and an honor, Kevin Campbell.
Nice one, Carlos. Top man.
You guys have a good day.
Beautiful. Take care, Carlos. Thanks for joining us. And we are going to have on now somebody, again, been very, very patient with us. Been communicating with Darren a lot on Twitter. I know he's been on a lot of podcasts, but this is the first time I'm putting a face with a name. Darren, you're on mute, but when you unmute yourself, we'll hear from you. That was a little bit of the Kevin Campbell.
He's giving me yeah, Daz.
Welcome to the Gooners podcast, Darren. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
How are you, Daz?
I'm still a bit annoyed about the game, but yeah.
No, that's listen. It's allowed. It's allowed, and to have concerns, as you said, it's allowed. Arsenal fans, we've got to have concerns when we can't get the job done. 100%.
Yeah. I don't know. Look, this is a subject that I was going to throw up earlier with Colin, but Colin loves a good rant, and I don't know whether maybe I'm looking too much into this, but it seemed like a massive visual to me at the start of the game, Darren, when Slavia Prague, who have come under scrutiny for some of their conduct on the pitch, didn't take the knee with Arsenal. What did you make of that, and what did you make of the punishment handed to not only them but the player, which was, I think, a 1-game ban, which he was injured for anyway? You know, what do you make of how that situation was handled?
Yeah, kind of well, I think, a little bit. I didn't see that bit, so I'm not sure that to answer that one.
No,
I saw a picture of that, and I thought it was. I didn't realize that they just flat out didn't kneel. And I guess everyone's got very private opinions and personal opinions about that one way or the other. But I actually didn't realize that had happened, other than a picture that I thought was photoshopped. To be honest with you.
No, it was just.
Well, I covered it. I covered the game for Sky, right? And what they said in commentary was, this is how the club, as a whole, have agreed how they're going to deal with the anti-racism things to be, solidarity, standing up. But it doesn't matter. They don't have to take a knee. It doesn't matter. If that's the way they do it, fine. Let's not put too much on it, although we know certain things have happened and they're under scrutiny for what happened at Glasgow Rangers.
Yeah, it's probably not a great look when in the in the wake of that. No,
exactly, and it wasn't that I wanted to linger on it too much. It's just that visual at the start of the game was sort of, I thought, quite impactful. Of a team that had been called into question, but even probably more so, Darren. A better question to ask you is, what did you make of Slavia Prague as an outfit, as a team? We often hear the saying of Farmers League and stuff like that there, but I think they're a team that a lot of Arsenal fans maybe overlooked. So how do you think that they handled us tonight?
I think they were sort of very mellow with us. I think they sort of were playing at our game, so we were sort of balanced with them. They were balanced with us, so that's why I'm a little bit frustrated. We should have been at least 1-2-0 up, because they weren't as fearless or as fearful as we should have been. But yeah.
Kev, I thought that they were going to be much more physical with us, and they were also, I think, maybe quite timid. That's a sort of common theme that you see nowadays in two-legged ties now, that the first leg is more so a feeling out process. What do you expect in that reverse fixture next week?
Well, the one thing I will say about the first half, they just sat back. Come on, Arsenal, let's see what you got. And it took us a little bit of while to work them out, but we were getting so much joy down the right-hand side. Saka was causing all sorts of problems. There was also a time where Rob Holding even got in down the line and put a great ball across, but there was no striker in there to finish it off. So, and then I don't know if you recognize, they made a change at half time, and then they went more aggressive. They were starting to press us higher up the pitch, because they were saying to themselves, you know what, we fancy our chances here. We really do. And then that kind of played into our hands. Saka kind of got in, which we thought might have been a penalty when it was just outside the box. And, I think that was the one where Willian hit the post and all that kind of thing. So it is cat and mouse. It is. But now that they have got something to hold on to, this is their difficult part now. How do they approach it at home? Because they know they're at home. They have to come and attack us. That's going to sue us down to the ground, because I'll be honest with you guys, if I put my boots on, I could have outrun some of them defenders. They were bloody, they were slow.
Yeah, there was nothing. It was a contest to see who could be worse between our attack and their defense. I mean, it was, and I think this is one of those situations where if there's fans in the stadium, that would have benefited them tonight, because it would have been getting on our boys. Yeah. And it would have benefited them on the second leg because of their rabid support, and not having fans in their place next Thursday, I think, is probably the best thing that could have happened to us in this situation. I'm assuming that they don't have fans. I know that in some places they're getting them back a little bit, but
the key to us is we need speed in the team at the top end. If we got speed in the team, we will go through. I'm sure of it. If we try to play too clever, we ain't a clever team. We are not a clever team. We can be good on our day, but we're not a clever team. And against a team whose back four, or probably most of the defense, are pretty slow, we've got to turn them. We've got to keep turning them, playing in behind them.
But Darren, that's how well in sync we are, Mike. No, funny, that was a really good segue that Kev gave me, and it was regarding one player that come on, Darren, and that's Nicola Pepe. Are we underutilising Nicola Pepe? Because it seems to me that almost every time this guy plays, he has some sort of relative impact on the game, and he's really sort of become the forgotten man at Arsenal, I think.
Yeah, when I saw the lineup of who was starting up, I thought, oh, Pepe's not playing. Williams, I was like, oh, okay. And I think that's where Arteta made that little mistake, where we could have used our more paceful makers, our more creative players. And I think Pepe does have that, what Willian lacks a little bit. I'm not saying, everyone's got their opinions on Willian, but for me, Pepe should have come on a lot sooner, right at the start of the games. And I think he should start in more games as well. And that's just, yeah.
I know, Kevin, that that you have been frequently a voice of normalcy or patience with Willian, that not to jump on the bandwagon of, oh God, he's the worst signing ever. I mean, I'd never said that, but other people say that.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, but he's not a pacey player. You mentioned he got to the byline a couple times. He's just there's no electricity there to me. Maybe earlier in his career, but it's just. He's another example of a guy who's kind of lumbering around and occasionally will be in the right place with the right ideas. But it seems like we have the ability to beat teams with just raw speed and especially when we've got Odegaard and ESR playing at their top, just balls coming in from different directions than defenses are used to seeing, to where we stretch these guys out. And anytime Willian's on, I loved Lacazette playing in the pivot in the center, as long as he had two pacey people on the outside of him. And with Willian as one of the wings, it just, to me, it was worrying me that we weren't going to have a strong output. That's what came to pass.
Mike, you see, there's always a trade-off. There's always a trade-off.
What does he bring that the others don't in exchange for pace? That's what I want to hear.
So the discipline of playing the actual position is why I think Arteta likes to pick him. He does track runners. He does track back. And yes, sometimes he loses the ball. But you tell me a player who doesn't.
I didn't
tell
when
me
I played.
Of course you didn't. You're magic. But I
thought he was one of our best players tonight.
I didn't think he had that bad a game myself. Mm-hmm. I really didn't. But here's the thing. I understand what you're saying, Mike, about the electricity and all that. We haven't had electricity in the team since Smith Rowe, Martinelli, and Saka played against Chelsea, and for that little stretch. Mm-hmm. Odegaard came in and had a little bit of electricity. But here's
is that not Mike. The formula then? Is that
no? Mike. Here's the thing. Hold on. Here's the thing. For all this lumbering, Willian's our highest assist.
Mm-hmm.
For all the lumbering and all the moaning,
I think so. 6.
It's Willian. So there you go. People can criticize all they like. What is it about? What is his job? His job is to do both sides. Are they all
corners or something? I don't understand.
His job is to do both sides.
And you got like 4 assists in 4 games.
And he's got to defend. So if you're going to play Pepe, you give up something defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think in the first leg, it's too important not to concede.
Mm-hmm.
Arteta knows we can always score goals, but it's important not, because their fullbacks like to bomb on. It's important to keep it tight. But we created enough. We created chances.
See, a question, Kev, just while we have you, I think is a good one for you to answer. With Nicola Pepe, how much does, let's say, a high price tag play, not only on the manager's mind, maybe in terms of the output that you're giving him for the price that they paid, but on the player's mind too?
I think price tag can be a burden.
Mm-hmm.
Of course it can. I'd lie if I say it's not a burden, because of the amount of money he came for. But once you cross the white line, it's a game of football.
Mm-hmm.
It is a game of football, and we have seen in fits and starts Pepe do so well, but we've also seen Pepe be awful. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the counterbalance.
Yeah.
Do we take Pepe for warts and all, where I didn't really know he was actually playing on Saturday against Liverpool. You know, we all were awful. But he comes on today, again, makes a difference from the bench where people are tired and he could use that speed. Aubameyang put himself about, released him, and scores a fantastic goal. Is he an impact sub? Or when we're playing from the start, we don't see that. So when people say he should have come on earlier, maybe you don't actually see him score that.
Yeah.
It's a difficult dilemma. But Arteta got it right by bringing the three of them on and us scoring. That's why he makes the change. But again, you know, they put a corner in and we can't deal with it. So
ultimately, Darren, it's the same thing that we've seen so many times this season. It's an underwhelming performance, but just effective enough, and then the complete capitulation at the end, lapse of concentration, which we've seen so many times. And again, these are the things: the inability to finish our chances and the inability to finish off games are, and even halves, as we've seen so often in the first half of a game. Is that's Arteta's job over the summer is to figure that out, and whether that's bringing in new players or just I don't know how you get this group as it stands to stop making those mental lapses.
He's got to add new blood in. He's got to add new blood in. And
it's got to be removing some old blood from it. But Darren, question for you: is that a Lee Dixon jersey? It's got to be, right? Oh, we knew it.
Right. Nice one.
Absolutely
nice
knew it. Absolutely knew it. We know your affinity for Lee and his for you. So I just, when I saw those stripes on the sleeve, I'm like, that's got to be Dixon. Yeah. Anything else? We got one more person in the chat. Big Steve's in the chat, wants to talk.
Mike,
patiently.
Mike, I've been on 20 minutes more than I'm supposed to.
Kev, I didn't catch the part that you only wanted to come on for 5 minutes. So
5 minutes. You had me on for like 30 minutes.
Someone said in the chat that he said he wanted to come on for 5 minutes.
Yeah, but you know that always got me going, didn't he?
It's the Super and Magic show.
Yeah, Super and Magic show. Yeah.
So can I add one thing? The other thing as well that I've noticed that there's a lot of expectations from these people like William Partey. And yet, we have that same expectation when we get new players, and that's what worries me a little bit.
You've got to find the right combination. I mean, it's going to be tricky.
Darren, welcome to playing for the Arsenal. Expectation is what it's what the club's built on. That's what you get for playing for the Arsenal, and you know. Some of these players, you see other players playing at other clubs, and you think, how are they doing so much better? Let me tell you something. You bring them into in the boiling pot of Arsenal, they're different players because the pressure's different.
Mm-hmm. And I think as well, I think my opinion on that is you have to provide sort of like individual circumstances as well to players. For example, my patience if we sign an 18 or 19-year-old winger for 5 to 10 million is going to be much different than if we sign, say, Basuma from Brighton for 30 to 40 million. Yeah, or Zaha.
You're going to expect them to. You're expecting them to change the team from the jump right away.
Exactly.
And if they don't, the pressure starts mounting. Kev, I truly appreciate you joining us. Sorry this was worse than Sophie time. It was magic time that I kept you here. But
well, it was 5 minutes. If it was magic time, it was only 5 minutes.
Well, we love you. Thanks for joining us and pulling double duty tonight. And
Magic,
Steve,
Owen, Darren,
Steve, you want to say a quick goodbye to Kevin?
Yeah,
nice one, Big Steve. Take care, everyone, and everyone in the chat. Yeah, take care, guys.
All right, thanks for joining us.
Cheers. You're welcome. Bye.
And we're going to keep Darren on, but Steve,
he's a proper legend now. That's proper legend. Like Colin.
Yeah, you're starting off.
Thank you.
Nothing personal, but Owen. Owen's like, Colin's a legend. Steve's a legend. Mike's a legend. No, he's a legend. Absolute legend. He has a statue outside the Gooners podcast headquarters. There may be a couple people in line ahead of him at the Emirates, but he's first in line here. Steve, good to see you. Do you have a happy song or a sad song for us tonight? We know you're a big musician, so
I don't have any songs tonight. Yeah, just a real deflating, really deflating. Yeah, I mean everything's been covered by everyone that's been on. One thing I did want to mention, because I've heard it spoken about earlier on the Highbury squad. This whole Emery versus Arteta debate that's coming around now. It's doing the rounds. Everybody's it's the new topic to talk about, isn't it? It's that, did Emery get less of a chance than Arteta's getting? Why is Arteta getting more of a chance? And I just think really with Emery, it was the first manager post Arsene Wenger. We didn't know how much of it was the players and how much it really was toxic behind the scenes. In the fact that we've seen people like Raul Sanilli leave, we've seen Arteta come in from coach to manager. We've seen all these changes behind the scenes, and we've seen the same sort of players letting the team down time and time again. And so there, I think that is the reason why Arteta's perhaps getting longer and getting more of a chance, just because we now know that it doesn't matter who comes in, what manager comes in. If we keep this squad as it is, it's probably going to be the same.
Is it the case as well, as I just mentioned, about taking in new signings, that you have to apply individual circumstances? When you're taking Unai Emery, who was a seasoned manager in La Liga and with PSG, and Mikel Arteta very much is a rookie manager, so you know what you're signing up for when you appoint somebody. So that's the reason, as well as one manager won their final and another one didn't, to use the words of Sophie. I think that buys him some more time. Surely that has to come into the argument too, doesn't
it? Yeah, I think so. You know, and we've seen with Arteta. Obviously, yes, he won a trophy, and that, you know, that is a little bit of a feather in his cap. The fact that he's then followed that up by potentially finished 10th, 9th, 8th place this season, it really does sort of cancel out that FA Cup and how well he did at the back end of last season. But then you look at the fact that, you know, how much disruption he's had, how much change there has been, and then you say, well, actually, in his first transfer window, he bought in a decent centre half and a decent centre midfielder that we've been calling out for years. And as much as Emery, you know, he bought in Torreira, he bought in it was Emery that got Kieran Tierney, wasn't it? It was his second season. So got Tierney through. Yeah,
it was the summer in between the two Emery seasons.
So although he bought in those players, you know, we then later find out that apparently they weren't the players that he wanted to bring in. So you know, and there's a reason why Raul is out the door. There has to be a reason as to why he's out the door. So I think there's a lot of factors off of the pitch that suggest that Arteta will be here long term, regardless of whatever the fan base is saying.
Well, the thing is,
there's an opinion from. I mean, and Stan's opinion has been pretty consistent, and you know, I'm in the camp less so than Owen or more so than Owen is, than to try to look at these two situations as being different. Unai Emery is in the situation where he was the guy after the guy, and that is rarely ever going to go well, and that's not his fault. And I didn't think he was a poor manager. I didn't have a Wenger, he's not Wenger snapback reaction to hate Emery. I loved Emery. I covered Emery with Soph, you know, over the summer tour in between his two seasons, and really, like, I remember talking to her at the whatever it's called now, the old StubHub center, and saying, we like this guy. We want him to succeed. He's cute. He's neat. We love how he came out of the back. Like we were all Team Emery, and it just kind of, I mean, it became clear that it wasn't so much that he didn't know what he was doing. Of course, he knows what he was doing. It's that he just didn't gain the respect of the dressing room for whatever reason. And you can point the 22-game winning, undefeated streak. You can point to the fact that we were 1 point out of fifth, despite how that season ended. You can point to the fact that we got to the finals of a Europa League. Those are all to his credit. But the point is, they had to make a change. When they did, keeping him was not an option in November of 2019.
Yeah,
it just wasn't.
See, like I'm all on board. I've said before, I'm like you say, Mike, I'm much more in neutral ground in terms of what I would do if I was the board with Mikel Arteta. But Darren, maybe you can come in this. My questions will start to arise, and I think the board's expectations will start to rise when they have to put their hand in their pocket during the summer and give some substantial financial investment. And to me, yes, it's nice. It's cool to say, oh, this is a process and this is going to take time and we need to get these people out and this people out. But when you're injecting cash into a business and the business is regressing, action needs to happen. And so for you, when is that line? You know, like, say we go in the next season, are you giving them the entire season? Or are you giving them to Christmas? So where in your mind do you say, right, this is the cut-off point?
I've always said sort of at the end of the season, because then you can have a fresh new start, new season, boom, 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 right, this is who we're going to get rid of, this is who we're going to buy. But I don't want them to buy players and have high expectations of that player, because that's where we go wrong. We've got high expectations for Willian, the same for Partey. And look where we are in a minute. So I just don't want Arteta to make that mistake again. You know, I'm not saying everything is not all his fault, but at the same time, you know, I think the new season will be a good fresh start with new players, get rid of the old players that are not doing us any favours. So yeah, I think that's my opinion really. So
do you think that it's more important this summer who we continue to get out or who we get in? I mean, in January, I think it was clear getting rid of people was more important than bringing people in. Do you still feel that there's some of that left over for the summer, Darren, or is it really just about? I mean, we need to upgrade, but we can't just upgrade without getting rid of some of these players. So, you know,
I think the more we get rid of the ones that are not doing us any favours, the more. I just, as well, you got to think of the players. Do they want to come to us because of how we are? We can't go for big names at the minute. We can't go for the big name players. So we got to start off mediocre. That, you know, I said, get rid of the players that are not doing us. Like, I'm going to say Bellingham because I've always favoured Bellingham, but he's not, and it's not just him, but it's like other players as well. But I'm usually
we're not getting to the next level with Hector Bellerin. We've seen what he's capable of. We've seen, you know. I'm not going to open the Xhaka Pandora's box. I'm just not. But some of these individuals, we've seen the best that they have to offer, and we need to be shooting for better. So, Steve, let's rather than talking about next season, I'm interested in your thoughts about Sunday, because Sunday is a game. I mean, if there's ever a game that we should come out and just destroy them, it would be Sunday. It'd be nice to get some good momentum going. But by the same token, we've got this Thursday thing, and we might have to rotate because a far more important game than next Sunday is next Thursday, which is our next biggest game of the season after 8 consecutive biggest games of the season. So, I mean, what do you expect to see on Sunday? Do you think it's going to be like the same lineup we saw against Liverpool again, or do you think it's going to be – is he really going to start to sprinkle in, you know, not to go – I'm rambling, but – we see players come in and it's bench first, unused sub first. Then there's 5 minutes at the end of the game. Then there's 10 minutes at the end of the game. And seeing Lopez and Aziz today on the bench, yes, it's injury related in a sense. Tierney's out, and I guess we weren't really short at midfielder. But do you think that we're going to see that before the end of the season, where we actually? You know, we start to, and if so, who is going to make way for them? Who's going to be the one who doesn't get playing time?
I can't see Aubameyang being dropped sort of permanently. I think he'll be back on Sunday. I think Pepe will probably start on Sunday. I think the back four will probably go back to, we'll have Chambers there. Cedric will probably play at left, but I would like to see someone like Lopez come in at the end. It's the end of the season. The season is basically done. They've realised actually there's a kid here, and he's been in training for quite a lot of this season already. Been training with the first team, so why not put him in? We're not going to finish much further down, if anything, and we're not going to finish much higher. So rather than play Cedric, who we're more than likely going to need to play on Thursday, bring in Lopez. We saw last year, the season before, Saka given a run at left back. At the end of Arsene Wenger's reign, when we were without a left back, we saw Maitland-Niles come in and play at left back. And these players, for the year after they've come in and done a job at left back or have been thrown in straight at the deep end, they've then come into their own the following season and they've been a useful part of the squad. And we're all saying about the transfer window and needing a new left back cover and everything else. So why not throw someone like Lopez in? Chambers is getting his minutes as a squad player. Next season, as you were saying, do we focus on getting players out, and as Darren was mentioning, do we focus on getting players out and bringing players in? And who can we bring in? We need to bring in players that are going to fit straight into the first 11, no question. But it's the players behind them that we have to then get rid of. Kolasinac is going to be coming back. He's on loan. He's only on loan, and I think he's got a year left on his contract. If we're going to move forward past Aubameyang and Lacazette, how are we going to shift them out? And that's where I think the Martinelli situation is going, where we're not risking him too much now, because if we play him and overdo him with minutes at this back end of this season, and then he's injured for months, that's then the start of next season that we're perhaps without a second or third striker. So I'm rambling now, but I just think there needs to be changes. There's going to be changes to the squad, and one eye on going forward. It has to happen now in the league, because we haven't, the league is where we can afford to experiment. The Europa League isn't.
Yeah, and our club is rambling. That's kind of the microcosm of the season for us. So I think we're gonna get ready to wrap up. It's been an hour and a half, and as per usual, I'm not feeling better after this from about the club thing, but I am feeling better just because I like talking to people and I like getting unique views, and I'm enjoying doing these open mic shows because we get to talk to people like Scott, who came in today, Colin, Aston, Carlos from San Diego, and of course you two gentlemen, Darren and Steve, alongside the legend who came in for 5 minutes and stayed for 30. Super Eoin Campbell. No, Super Kev. That was a nice surprise, and hopefully a couple of people who haven't been fortunate enough as us to have talked to him on a regular basis enjoyed their chance to interact with him. So I'd like to give a special thank you to a group of people who, most of whom have been in this podcast before, but many of whom came over here just about the time that the Highbury squad ended. So Soph, we love you, Amanda, and of course Super Kev. We will gladly welcome squaddies in here anytime. It's good to see you guys. I'm sorry if I don't do as well in the comments as Soph does. She is a professional. I am not. And that's that. But stay tuned, because I think Soph and I enjoy working together on stuff, and hopefully we'll have some cross promotion and cross appearances on stuff pretty soon. This has been Magic Mike. I can't love that more. I just, because it isn't even like he's doing it as a joke. He appears to think my name is Magic now, which is great. But
I would say you're probably a little less easy on the eye than Channing Tatum, though. Man.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm on those soups and getting there.
I am working on it, though. I am working on it. I've even an hour and a half for my 4 ounces of protein for dinner tonight. So get ready to see this huge ass head go down to a lesser huge ass head. But I'm working on it. Steve, where can we find you? Promote whatever you got to promote. I know that you're into music and having scarves on your wall.
Yeah, the scarves are just, if anyone's, just whilst I'm on that, it's yes, it's Sunderland, but my great granddad played for Sunderland in the early 1900s. He died down the pits up there. But so Sunderland and Arsenal are like, that's Arsenal 100%. Sunderland.
When you have a relative that played for the club, I think you're actually allowed to
pass. Yeah.
I mean, I've spent the last 4 months in Sunderland as well because of lockdown, so I'm now back home. But yeah, Arsenal Sunderland scarves. That's the only time I can condone a half and half scarf. But yeah, at Big Steve with 2 E's on Twitter. It's mostly football content there, Arsenal views, and I'm usually jumping on with Fergus and Trev on Guns and Yellow Ribbons. In terms of music, Big Steve Artist and Facebook, and I don't do Twitter thing for the Twitter thing for music. I don't know why, but
probably because people would tell you your music is shit, even though it's not, because it's required on Twitter to do that. So you're involved, and you're in the mother of all banter chats with a bunch of our common friends. And I told you this the other day. I mean, I've only recently gotten to know you, but of all those jokers and jesters and wonderful people that are in that chat, I've never had an opinion that's expressed that is more aligned with mine. So
it's strange.
I'm enjoying getting to know you more, and thanks for coming on the open mic night.
Yeah, cheers for
Darren,
giving everyone the platform.
Darren, you've anything you want to say? Anything you want to get out there? Twitter handle? Comments about Dicko. I love that you got that shirt on.
Quality player.
Oh no, it's yeah. If you just follow where my name is, there I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitch as well. I do a lot of gaming stuff as well. And yes, I could speak a lot about Lee, but we haven't got a long enough show for that. So
well, he's a gentleman, and we enjoy having him on. And I know that you've had him on with you on YouTube a couple of times. And if you want to promote that, send me the link and I'll retweet it. Because your shows with him, although not recent, are timeless. So we'd love to get that out there.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's late for you. I mean, it's late for you too. All three of you guys, I guess, are over there. It's 7:30 in the evening for me. But what the hell are you guys still doing up?
Man, killed it again. Do you want to know what? That these are relatively new, these shows, but they're definitely, I think, my favorite. See, getting to hear different opinions from people in the chat that you would never really put a face to the name, and everybody that comes on speaks really well, and some great opinions as well, put across in a respectful manner. And I think even added to it tonight, given some people like it, that was the highlight of the show, seeing Aston's face when Kev jumped on with him was fantastic. So
I had the Highbury Squad on my phone because frankly I wanted to look at like how many people entered the chat the moment that they were done. And I started to see some people telling me that Kev was open to coming on, so it's great that he joined us. You never know what you're going to get on the Gooners podcast. That's for damn sure. It's usually not good, but today it was. If you're new to here, because we actually have you, we do podcasts other than the open mic nights. Usually game reviews on Monday nights. We have interview podcasts with interesting guests. We've had the likes of Lee Dixon on. We've had Alan Smith on. We really kind of do the commentator thing. Peter Drury, Ian Dark, Derek Ray, some great conversations, and we've got some interesting ones lined up coming up with both journalists,
Jermaine Genus
inside the club. Jermaine Genus is not welcome on our podcast, but I'll invite him on just to kick him off. But in any case, hope you'll join us. Follow us at the Gooners Pod, and that's about it. So we're gonna head off. Arsenal won, as Eoin calls it, Slavia Prague. Slavia is something different, I believe, than a football team, but
funny teenage years,
and for that we get where's the here we go. Shame on Eoin. All right, this is the Gooners podcast. Come on, you Gooners.